Good morning and welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather and we have a little bit of a different chore to do today. It's something we don't do very often, but I've actually got to close the gate to our large pasture so we can mow. So that back pasture back there, the one that surrounds the barn, that one has been here since we first purchased goats about 3 years ago. But this pasture over here, this is new this year. We just put the fence in the springtime, and the goats have had a really awesome time grazing back here. You can tell it's pretty long, and the long grass that you see is called broom sedge. The goats, most of them won't eat it, and it's something that's not necessarily nutritionally dense, if you will, so I don't blame them for not eating it, but we do need to mow it down. We're trying to manage the broom sedge in our pasture because it is kind of a waste of space, if you will. Some of it is starting to go to seed, and we're trying to stay on top of that. Long grass like this can provide cover for a whole myriad of critters, like coyotes if they happen to crawl under the fence, dig under the fence, or climb over it. But also things like deer would take cover and bed down in long grass like this. And that doesn't sound like as much of a problem as the coyotes, but it could potentially be a bigger problem because the deer population around here does harbor a brainworm, and the deer, if they spend much time in our field, could pass that brainworm onto our goats, and it has happened before. We're trying to keep things like that at bay, so it's time to mow. Tumnus, that goat. You can probably tell here that Levi left the grass right around 6 to 8 inches long, and that's really good for the goats. Any shorter and it would risk having them kind of perpetuate the worm cycle by constantly ingesting the worm eggs that they poop out. With the grass being a little bit longer, it helps protect them, and that's definitely what we want. Got a couple of our girls right here. Rory's one of them that are due to give birth this coming week. And little baby Nigerians are really tiny, and I was also concerned about them getting lost in the long grass out here. As it was, the older does were getting lost, and it was kind of funny. They were playing almost a game of Marco Polo to try to find each other. They don't have to do that now, and it's really nice to be able to look out and watch them graze without, them getting lost. I've got a lot of questions about our little goat Elpis. She's the one that got the brainworm a couple months ago, and she's healed probably as well as she's going to, which is not 100%. I'm gonna try to get video of her walking. She still kind of walks a little bit sideways, but the vet thinks that for our purposes here on our farm, which is just as a dairy animal, she's going to perform beautifully and really not be worse for wear. Hey, hey. How you doing? back here often, so many of you may not realize that this grassy patch right here in the beginning of the year and for several years prior to this has been underwater. So the drought situation has really decreased the volume of our pond. You can see it, it's way back there. The goats have been walking along this mud pad here, and they've been grazing on this fresh new patch of grass that I assume isn't going to remain here in subsequent years, but we're just gonna have to see. The water used to come all the way up here. You can really tell right here that the goats have had a great time coming in through here and basically clearing the brush in between the trees. I've never seen it look like this. This makes me so excited that they're doing this. Italian Calamity, my 2 bottle babies, they're not really concerned about sticking with the herd because after all, I am mama. Come on girls, let's go. I'm actually only milking Margie right now, and that's because my 2 Nigerians that are due this month, their due date window actually opens up tomorrow, and one of our girls looks like she's getting pretty close to having babies. I am generally getting more than this from Margie every day, but because of the heat, I've actually left her teat tape off of her teats and I've been letting her babies drink. Now, she is finally starting to wean her Christmas babies now that they're only 3 weeks away from processing. So they're not emptying her udder completely, so I'm about to put her teat tape back on her now, but I wanted to make sure I had her udder empty before I asked it to refill again, just so we can keep her production up for the next couple months before she's bred again. Excuse me. Excuse me, my dear. No, 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 no. Or yes, that works. We do have a double door system in our milking parlor, so the goats, when they do get past me, they can't get out. So you guys haven't seen this section of the barn in a little while. My goats, Rory and Pepper, are entering their due date window tomorrow, and it looks like Rory is getting pretty close. We'll get an up close look on her in a little bit because I am going to stick her in a kidding stall tonight just to give her a quiet, clean area to kid should she do so overnight. I honestly don't think she's going to deliver tonight, but she's entering the stage, the end stage of her pregnancy where I'm more comfortable putting her in here. So first I've got to get it ready. So generally I like to bed my kidding stalls with straw. In order to get straw, I would have to go buy it, and I have quite a few bales of last year's hay, so that's what I'm electing to use. She's probably gonna eat some of it tonight. That is completely fine. I have plenty more to add for when she does actually kid. Because of the time of year that Rory is kidding and the fact that today the heat index was 105, it is a very, very likely thing that she is not going to need this heat lamp. However, overnight tonight and into tomorrow, there is a cold front coming that's going to take our highs down by 30 degrees and in theory our lows down by 30 degrees as well. So we could have some nights in the 40s. That is generally an okay temperature for a goat, especially with Rory's experience and Pepper's experience to kid and dry off their babies and everything be just fine. But this helps a little bit with lighting for you guys, and just in case the kids do get a little cold, I want to make sure that these heat lamps are functioning for when I need them. I don't want to be scrambling around trying to find light bulbs and all of that when I may be in a stressful situation trying to warm a kid. So I'm going to turn it on and leave it on for like 10 minutes, make sure this bulb is good to go, and then I'll shut it off because she does not need this tonight. I really like these heat lamps from Premier One. They are designed for sheep, so the lighting and the heating element is actually way up in the middle here, and it's protected by this cage. So you can get right up on this heat lamp and it's not going to set fire to anything. We've actually had these before I added these clips up here. We have had them fall, we have had them touch the hay, and we have not had them set fire to the barn. Knock on wood. They are not burn proof, they're just a little bit safer than those standard metal heat lamps. These are actually not my favorite clips to use. These are good, but I have a clip that I like a little bit more that I'll show you. But they've got this coil around the cord so they can't chew it and break it, and then you can secure it really nicely. These are actually the kind of rings that I like best. This particular ring actually threads on and is pretty darn hard to get off when you're trying to get it off. So it's even harder to fall down and come off when you don't intend for it. I actually need this bucket. So here's our girl Rory and her babies. So like I said, Rory's due date window opens tomorrow, and I've been keeping a close eye on her ligament situation. So Rory is a goat that will deliver with at least one ligament still intact, and she's very, very loosey-goosey back here. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about at all, there's actually a pretty telltale sign, not foolproof, but generally when a goat is ready to go into labor, the two ligaments on either side of their tail that you can feel when they're not in labor, they are very hard. You can kind of twang them, and they're about the width of your pinky or about the width of a pencil, and as they get closer and closer to labor, those ligaments will soften, and then eventually it's almost like they disappear. They just kind of melt into the rest of them, and their whole back end really loosens up to prepare for labor. So I still feel her ligaments. I don't think she's going to deliver tonight. I have had Rory deliver twice here. Twice, 2 or 3 times. Twice on our farm, and I'm familiar with her process. Her udder though, it's starting to get bigger. It stayed pretty much the same size for around a month, and she's putting a little bit more milk in her udder today. It's a little hard to see. Look at it. Oh, gravy mama. I'm sorry. I'll let you eat your hay, huh? You ignoring me? So here's her situation. Let me know how many babies you think Rory is going to have. So, believe it or not, kidding season is upon us. I'm going to try my best to attend her labor and delivery and video it for you guys and put it up in a brand new kidding season playlist for this season. If you haven't been with us long and you don't know that we already do have a kidding playlist, I'm going to link it up here so you can entertain yourselves in the meantime.